For those of you who want to watch the Chicago Sports Network without purchasing an antenna, go to the description of this video. We have a free link to watch CHSN programming. At Sports Broadcast Solutions, we tend to talk about what's going on with the on-the-field happenings, but in the Chicagoland area especially, professional sports teams are starting to become more and more privatized when it comes to live telecasts. And this is starting to become newsworthy in terms of why more and more sports fans aren't watching the games. In the old days, the average sports fan could watch the Bulls, White Sox, Cubs, and Blackhawks on WGN, ABC7, and NBC Sports Chicago. On a side note, do you remember when the four aforementioned professional sports teams used to play on Fox Sports Chicago and Comcast Sportsnet? Man, do I miss those days. But those days are long gone. If you're a Chicago sports fan, it's hard to find your favorite sports teams unless you're willing to break the piggy bank to do so. You can't watch the Cubs live unless you pay for the Marquee Sports Network. No more free Cubs games on WGN America, ABC Chicago, or NBC Sports Chicago. If you want to watch the Cubs, you either pay for Marquee Sports Network or you go to your nearby sports bar to watch the game. Annoying, right? It's even worse if you root for the White Sox, Bulls, or Blackhawks, at least for now. NBC Sports Chicago folded up during late September of 2024, with the owners of the Bulls, White Sox, and Blackhawks opting to create their own sports network called the Chicago Sports Network. What's the big deal, you might ask? A lot. Chicago Sports Network, or CHSN for short, still can't get the deal done with Xfinity/Comcast. Comcast, of course, is the most popular cable subscription service in Illinois and Northwest Indiana, with 1 million subscriptions in the Chicagoland area. According to the New York Times, Comcast Xfinity didn't make any offers before the Blackhawks and Bulls season started. CHSN President Jason Coyle told the Times on October 19th that there have been no offers from Comcast whatsoever and, quote, CHSN is voluntarily taking a significant financial haircut, unquote. Coyle also said, quote, there's been an active dialogue, but the ball is in their court, close quote. Well, Comcast never felt the pressure to get the job done with CHSN. The season started with the Bulls and Blackhawks being blacked out on Comcast, with customers being forced to switch over to DirecTV Stream, UVor's, Astound, or purchasing a separate CHSN application. Is the application cheap? In my humble opinion, absolutely not. To watch just one of the three teams, it costs $19.99 per month. That's almost $120 per 6 months to watch quite possibly the worst team in the NHL in the Blackhawks, or $120 to watch a rebuilding Bulls team who just recently lost by 40 points to the Pistons. To watch all three teams, it costs $29.99 per month. It's almost $180 per 6 months to watch three professional sports teams who all could finish in last place in their respective divisions. And no, that's not hyperbole. Even the average sports fan knows that the White Sox are coming off a 2024 campaign where they set the record for most losses during a 162-game regular season. Why would anyone want to watch the White Sox coming off that horrible of a season? Not that winning and losing is everything when it comes to being a fan, but not everyone is a hardcore sports fan, far from it. Some people jump on and off the bandwagon when wins are plentiful or non-existent. But now CHSN expects the bandwagon fan to pay $120 per 6 months to watch a Bulls team who's actively trying to tank for Cooper Flagg. Is it just me, or is that borderline moronic to demand that much money from your fan base? To play devil's advocate, you can watch the Bulls, White Sox, and Blackhawks for free via an antenna. Then again, asking your customers to pay an antenna for something they never asked for isn't exactly an ideal business model. Why anger the customers when you can keep them satisfied? Some people are very habitual, and it can be annoying from a customer's point of view when you force them to switch from Comcast to DirecTV just to watch the Blackhawks and or Bulls. The subscription thing is also annoying because people are subscribed out. To watch this TV show, you have to specifically subscribe to Apple TV+. To watch this movie, you have to subscribe to Netflix. And to watch live TV, you have to subscribe to Hulu+. Blah, 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 etc., etc. And now people have to subscribe separately to the CHSN application when they used to get NBC Sports Chicago as part of their old cable package. Enough is enough when it comes to the average middle-class family or consumer. Forcing fans to either purchase an antenna or a monthly subscription package isn't the answer. Why force fans to subscribe to something when the teams are usually horrible to watch on TV? But whatever, I digress. Let's go back to Marquee Network. Interestingly enough, Marquee Network's direct-to-consumer application subscriptions increased by 20% over their original plan number during the 2023 season. The Cubs began offering the DTC app in late July of 2023. By contrast, when the Cubs were rebuilding during the 2021 trade deadline and throughout the entirety of 2022, viewership fell by 56%. What's the correlation here? When the team wins, the consumer will pay, regardless of if Comcast gets the carriage deal or not. Spoiler alert, you can watch Marquee Network on Comcast. But the more important statistic for the Ricketts Group is the annual TV rights deals. According to the Chicago Tribune, the Cubs made $90 million in 2022 for having their own TV network. They last made only, and I say very loosely here, $60 million in TV rights deals during their broadcast days on NBC Sports Chicago. Not that $60 million is chunk change, but even the average sports fan can understand why the Ricketts Group wanted the Cubs to switch over to Marquee. When the Cubs decided to start up Marquee Network in collaboration with Sinclair Broadcasting, Tom Ricketts had to determine if businesses would want to advertise on a privatized network, technically speaking. Well, those questions were answered. The Ricketts Group saw a 3% increase in advertising sales on Marquee Network from 2020 to 2022. What's the conclusion here? Well, when advertising sales go up, that means TV viewership is generally going up as well. Cubs fans will watch the games, whether it's on a subscription-based network or over the air. The lovable losers are so marketable that people will pay $19.99 per month for an application or just stick with Comcast. Bulls fans, on the other hand, rhyme scheme intended, not so much. In the year of forcing their fan base to order an antenna, the fans have responded by not watching the games. According to Sports Business Journal, local Bulls telecasts are down 63% viewership from last season. This year-over-year viewership statistic was as recent as February 1st, 2025. The fans are seemingly very unhappy with being forced to either buy an antenna or switch over to DirecTV, and they've responded with low viewership numbers. Not that Jerry and Michael Reinsdorf care that much about viewership. Even with the team in full rebuild mode, the Bulls are still fourth in average home attendance this season, trailing just the Knicks, 76ers, and Mavericks. As such, the Bulls are still making money in spite of the fans not watching their home games on television. But the Bulls were first in attendance during the previous 3 seasons when the team aired games on NBC Sports Chicago. What's the logical conclusion to draw here? Well, the fans are sticking it to the Reinsdorf family. They don't want to watch the games on TV, and they're no longer spending an arm and a leg on tickets at the United Center for a below 500 basketball franchise. Bulls fans might very well miss NBC Sports Chicago until a carriage deal gets done between CHSN and Comcast. And by the way, it's not as though the easy solution is, if I buy an antenna, I'll easily be able to watch my Bulls or Blackhawks. The Chicago Tribune reported in October that some viewers weren't able to get digital channels 62.2 and or 62.3, the same digital channels that CHSN runs through WJYS. One viewer from the suburbs of Chicago said, quote, "The game broadcast was either static or a blue screen that said weak signal," unquote. Not a great start for the CHSN era. Even worse, some viewers with older TVs needed to buy new receiver boxes to get a clean signal on the digital signals. So let me get this straight. CHSN won't get the carriage deal done with Comcast. They're basically forcing their consumers to purchase an antenna, and the consumer has to purchase even more equipment to get the antenna to work. An antenna, mind you, that no consumer asked for. Talk about potentially alienating your clients. Then again, it's not as though antennas are ancient devices. That same Tribune article reported there are about 600,000 antenna users in the Chicago market, making it within range of a top 50 market. In other words, about 15% of 3.46 billion homes in the Chicago market watch TV by using an antenna. I don't personally use an antenna, but a good 10 to 15% of my peers do. That's somewhat of a significant statistic, and it just shows why CHSN wanted to do free over-the-air programming in the first place. Think of it like this. Why would Comcast pay for the broadcast rights for CHSN when 15% of its potential client base has already switched over to free over-the-air programming? Comcast already serves 1 million subscribers in Chicago. Would they get more subscribers if they paid for broadcast rights to be redistributed throughout their cable network? Sure. Is it worth their investment? Not so much, at least not right now. If Comcast decided to pay for the CHSN broadcast rights, they would force the fans to pay for a higher tier. This happened in Pittsburgh, where Sportsnet Pittsburgh moved its broadcast tier of Pirates and Penguins telecasts to the Ultimate tier, which is about $20 pricier. If CHSN moved its sports package to the Ultimate tier, only a portion of the higher monthly charge would be offset by a reduction of the regional sports fee. This is because Comcast still owns Marquee Network and Big Ten Network. In layman's terms, the Comcast subscribers are going to have to fork up the dough to watch the Bulls, Blackhawks, and White Sox on CHSN. However, they've received $8 reimbursement since NBC Sports Chicago officially folded up on September 30th of last year. But until that carriage deal happens, fans are forced to choose between the antenna and DirecTV. You can also watch CHSN and Marquee Network on Fubo TV for a monthly price of approximately $100. Coming from someone who did the free trial of Fubo TV, I advise you not to get it. But if you don't want to switch over to an antenna or DirecTV, you might not have much of another choice. Also, real quickly, a merger between CHSN and Marquee isn't expected to happen, according to the Chicago Sun-Times. So if you watch the Bulls, Blackhawks, or White Sox, you better go back in time. Like, who the heck purchases antennas anymore? According to Paul Sullivan from the Chicago Tribune, he hasn't purchased an antenna in 55 years. So crank that DeLorean to 88 miles per hour and see what happens next, because the flex capacitor is telling us that we'll be watching sporting events on the old antenna for the foreseeable future. Back to the future we go, and for Chicago sports fans, we have to go back in the past to watch more Chicago sports. But what do you think? Do you watch the Bulls and Blackhawks on CHSN? How about watching the Cubs on Marquee Network? Make sure to comment below and subscribe to Sports Broadcast Solutions.